15 Golden Age stars who were actually bald but wore wigs. He's the toupee king. We sit down with a man who perfected Sinatra's hairpiece as he dishes the dirt on which Hollywood hunks are covering up fall spots. Behind every perfectly coiffed Hollywood leading man of the Golden Age lurked a secret that studios guarded as carefully as scandal. Many of cinema's most iconic stars were actually balding or completely bald, their legendary looks completed by expertly crafted hairpieces that audiences never suspected. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 15 beloved stars whose famous hairstyles were cinematic illusions as carefully crafted as any special effect. From Humphrey Bogart's slick-back elegance to John Wayne's rugged frontier mane, these actors' most consistent co-stars weren't their leading ladies, but the master wigmakers who kept their secrets. That's the hairpiece owned by Frank Sinatra. These weren't just occasional hairpieces for specific roles, these were career-long deceptions that studios maintained with military-grade secrecy. Contracts included special clauses about hair care, dedicated stylists, traveled with stars, and publicity departments airbrushed photos and threatened lawsuits against anyone who dared mention the W word. The elaborate lengths Hollywood went to reveals just how important the perfect head of hair was to a leading man's marketability in the golden age of Hollywood. You are for baldness, but a Manchester firm have developed the next best remedy. The golden age of Hollywood was built on carefully constructed images. Stars weren't just actors, but icons meticulously shaped by studio systems. While the public was occasionally aware of cosmetic enhancements like nose jobs or dental work, one alteration remained strictly confidential: the hairpiece. For male stars especially, virility and attractiveness were intrinsically linked to a full head of hair, making baldness a career-threatening condition that required immediate concealment. Let's examine 15 legendary actors whose famous locks were Hollywood's best-kept secret and how their artificial hair helped shape their unforgettable screen images. 1. Humphrey Bogart. The tough guy's secret vulnerability. Humphrey Bogart's slicked-back hair became as much a part of his iconic image as his trench coat in Casablanca. Yet by the time Bogart filmed noir classics like The Maltese Falcon and The Big Sleep, he was already significantly bald and completely dependent on hairpieces. Bogart began losing his hair in his early 30s when he was still playing supporting roles in villains. When his breakthrough as a leading man came with High Sierra and The Maltese Falcon in 1941, his hairline suddenly became a matter of serious studio concern. Cinematographer Arthur Edison later revealed that lighting Bogart became increasingly challenging as his hairpieces became more obvious. We developed specific key lighting techniques to minimize shadows that might reveal the hairline of his toupee, Edison noted. Bogey knew exactly which angles worked best and would sometimes quietly adjust his position if he felt the light might expose his hairpiece. According to Lauren Bacall's autobiography, Bogart never appeared without his hairpiece in public and was rarely seen without it even in private. Bogey had a standing rule that no photographers were allowed near the swimming pool, Bacall wrote. The one place he would remove his hairpiece was in the water, and he guarded that privacy fiercely. Perhaps the most revealing testament came during his final illness. As cancer took its toll in 1956-57, Bogart continued to wear his hairpiece during hospital stays and even insisted on having it properly positioned during his final days. For a man whose tough guy image defined mid-century masculinity, this private vulnerability remained his most closely guarded secret until the end. 2. Fred Astaire, dancing with an invisible partner. Fred Astaire's seemingly effortless elegance extended to his perfectly styled hair that never seemed to fall out of place even during his most vigorous dance routines. What audiences didn't realize was that Astaire was performing with an invisible dance part, a meticulously crafted hairpiece secured through technical innovations created specifically for his unique requirements. Astaire began losing his hair in his late 20s. By the time he arrived in Hollywood for his first RKO pictures, he was already wearing a custom-made hairpiece. The extraordinary technical challenge was keeping a hairpiece securely in place while performing dance routines that included jumps, spins, and even dancing on the ceiling. According to Astaire's longtime makeup artist, Robert Schiffer, we worked with Max Factor to develop a special adhesive that could withstand perspiration and rapid movement. Fred's hairpieces were constructed with a silk base rather than standard lace, which allowed better adhesion and ventilation during strenuous numbers. Astaire's perfectionism extended to his hairpieces, which he considered as much a part of his costume as his top hat and tails. He reportedly traveled with multiple identical hairpieces and insisted they'd be maintained by only a select few trusted stylists. What's particularly remarkable is that despite performing some of the most athletic dance routines in film history, there is not a single documented instance of his hairpiece ever coming loose or falling off during filming, a testament to both the innovation of Hollywood wigmakers and Astaire's precise awareness of his movements. Astaire's dance partner, Ginger Rogers, once commented with characteristic wit, "I had to remember not to run my fingers through his hair during romantic scenes. Fred would have never forgiven me if I dislodged his little friend." 3. John Wayne, the Duke's hidden crown. John Wayne's rugged masculinity made him the definitive American Western star for decades. Yet one aspect of the Duke's iconic image was carefully crafted Hollywood illusion. His full head of hair, which had begun to disappear well before he reached the height of his fame. Wayne started losing his hair in his late 30s, around the time of his breakthrough with Stagecoach, 1939. As his stardom grew throughout the 1940s, his hairline receded correspondingly. By the early 1950s, Wayne was wearing hairpieces in nearly all his films, though the transition was implemented so gradually that audiences rarely noticed the change. What makes Wayne's case particularly interesting is how his hairpieces were specifically designed to reinforce his frontier persona. Unlike the sleek urban hairpieces created for stars like Cary Grant, Wayne's were intentionally crafted to appear slightly rough and windblown. Longtime collaborator Charlie Jamora recalled, "The Duke wanted his hairpieces to look natural for a man who too perfectly styled." The challenges of maintaining Wayne's rugged image while concealing his baldness became particularly acute during physically demanding Western shoots. Filming in dusty, windy environments like Monument Valley created unique problems for keeping hairpieces in place. Wayne's costume assistant, Luster Bayless, revealed, for writing scenes, the Duke wore a specially designed bandana under his cowboy hat that helped keep everything in place during gallops and stunts. Wayne was reportedly more pragmatic about his hairpiece than many stars, viewing it as simply another element of his costume rather than a source of personal embarrassment. Director Howard Hawks once recalled that Wayne would remove his hairpiece in private settings with trusted friends, but would immediately put it back on if anyone outside his inner circle entered the room. As Wayne himself reportedly told a young actor, "This damn thing's hotter than a tin roof in August, but the ladies seem to like it, so on it stays." 4. Cary Grant. Perfect hair for the perfect man. If any Golden Age star embodied physical perfection, it was Cary Grant. His immaculate appearance, from his precisely tailored suits to his flawlessly styled hair, created a standard of male elegance that remains influential decades later. Yet the man once described by critic Pauline Kael as the man from Dream City maintained his dreamlike perfection with the help of expertly crafted hairpieces. Grant began experiencing hair loss in his mid-30s. Around the time he was establishing himself as Hollywood's premier romantic leading man. For a star whose appeal was so connected to his physical perfection, this presented a potential career crisis. According to Grant's longtime makeup artist, Del Armstrong, Grant's hairpieces were among the most expensive and meticulously crafted in Hollywood. Cary's hairpieces cost roughly 10 times what the average stars would. Armstrong revealed they were constructed with each hair individually knotted into a base made of material so fine, it was nearly invisible even in close-ups. Grant reportedly traveled with multiple hairpieces, each slightly different to account for how his character should appear in various situations. For romantic comedies like The Philadelphia Story, his hairpiece would be perfectly styled without a hair out of place. For more rugged roles like Gunga Din, a slightly Messier variation would be used. What distinguished Grant's hairpieces was how they evolved as he aged. Unlike stars who maintained implausibly youthful hair into their senior years, Grant allowed his artificial hair to gray naturally, reflecting his actual age. This subtle authenticity helped maintain the illusion and prevented the jarring contrast that made some older stars' hairpieces more obvious. Grant was extremely private about his hairpieces, but occasionally revealed a sense of humor about his situation with close friends. Director Alfred Hitchcock